We've got some food scraps that we're going to go put into the compost, worm compost. I save them all week and bring them to the farm and then put them in the compost, or the worm compost, and then I will distribute the worm compost in here through the garden. Works out pretty well. The sunshine garden. It's not much, but it is full of worms. It's February days or today. It's supposed to get Ooh, lots of worms. And they are hungry. Look at that rich soil. Full of red wigglers. And all I do is keep my kitchen scraps. And then every weekend when we come up here to the farm, I'll put them in here. And these little worms are just multiplying, making me some very rich additive for the garden. Keep working. Good job. Now we're just going to pitchfork that in and let them eat this week. You can save everything, eggshells, food scraps, no meat, no onions, no citrus. So all the other scraps I just keep in a bag. And I don't have a fancy compost bin on the counter or anything. I just keep it in a Ziploc bag. It doesn't really stink. And then if I get one full, I will put it in the freezer. But the more decayed, the more broken down this gets, these scraps get, the better. And like this one is good and juicy. It's easier for the worms to digest. And easier for the worms to make their castings, which is that and worm tea, which is so good. And it's free. All I would be doing was throwing away those scraps. So my initial investment 3 years ago was from Jim's Worm Farm. I ordered, oh gosh, I don't know, 100 red wigglers. And I have a bucket of worms, which I'll show you in a minute. And they just keep producing. Every year I put them out into some of them out into the garden for my crops, and just keep the rest of them here right in the garden, which is a fabulous place because then they're right here. These little guys eat all the scraps. They eat everything. And I do blend them in so that other animals, which we have out here, raccoons, possums, that sort of thing, won't be tempted to get in here and make a mess. So, yeah, they're good until next week. And I do put, like I pulled some old plants from last year up, and I do put that in here. Any other little garden scraps that are not weeds to break down. But mostly it's just kitchen scraps. And those red wigglers do the rest. Right, it's time to feed the worms that are in the buckets. Mostly we use these for, hey Sammy, you're going to help me today. Mostly we use these as fishing worms. Let's see if I can get you down in there, you can see them. And they're hungry. All this good muck in the bottom is worm castings. So what I usually do is transfer some of the worms to the garden and all of these castings to the garden. And just keep feeding them, and then we use these to fish in the pond. There's a lot of good castings in here. Look at all these worms. There, got a little bit of food left from last week. And they pretty much eat up all this food, all these kitchen scraps. That's good news. Got my trusty helper here. So all I do is just dump some of these kitchen scraps right in there. They will work on them all week. What you think? Look good? That look good to you, Sammy? And I just put them down in there a little bit. They will crawl up and get them. Then this one, I need to probably add a little bit more paper. I don't put any dirt in here, just paper strips. I know different people do worms different ways, but all I do is I take the flyers from the grocery store and I just pull little strips. And then if I have cardboard, I will put cardboard in. You know, I've heard not to use the ink from the paper, but I have found that it makes no difference to these little worms. They're healthy, they're still producing. And I'll just keep rotating them where I need them. So yeah, if you've got a bin, all I did was screw little holes in the tops of the bins, all around the top edges for air holes, and I just keep them out of the weather. It's cold, I take them in the garage or in the shop. And we've been doing that for a couple of years now with great success. Get out of the worms.